start of the 1980s, Fleetwood Mac was at the top of their game. They sold out every venue they performed in, had all the luxuries that life could afford. They even had their own parade of limousines waiting at the airport for each band member. But as the 1980s progressed, rumors began to circulate that Fleetwood Mac had broken up, as each of the three lead singers were enjoying solo careers, but they bounced back to create their greatest success since Rumors. Just when things began to turn around, a huge fight would once again turn the tides for the legendary rock band. This is part 4 of The Chain, the evolution of Fleetwood Mac. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of The Chain, the evolution of Fleetwood Mac. I'm your host, Sean Stewart, alongside Jeff Coast.
How you doing, everybody?
And on our last podcast, we talked about the mega success of the group's smash hit Rumors and its highly experimental follow-up album, Tusk. And while the group was hopeful that Tusk would have the same success that Rumors did, it really failed to eclipse the success of Rumors. But, however, the group decided that they would still go on an almost year-long tour to recoup from their losses from the Tusk album.
Yeah, Sean, that's right. When the band released Tusk, they had hoped it was going to be this really great success, and it really did not go as well as they had hoped. The record company was very disappointed in the album and deemed it as a failure, as we discussed in our previous podcast. But, the fans didn't care. They wanted more Fleetwood Mac, so the band went on the road and in late 1979 and stayed on the road for about a year. And to kind of recoup some of their losses from the Tusk album, they actually went and recorded some live tracks for Fleetwood Mac Live, which was released in 1980. And that was a double vinyl release, and I actually managed to pick one up recently at a record shop. Very good album. The tracks were cut between 1975 and 1980, and there's a couple tracks that the band has never released, one called Fireflies, and that's a really good song. And there's also a cover of the Beach Boys, The Farmer's Daughter, on there too, which is kind of pretty cool. By the end of the Tusk tour in September 1980, the band was tired, and they needed a break because they had been going since 1975, straight on through tours and album recordings. They were just done by the end of 1980. But more importantly, they all needed a break from each other because they were kind of sick of being around each other for so long, and mainly that's because of the drama that was surrounded by the Rumors album. And so Fleetwood Mac was placed on a hiatus for a while. And during this little hiatus of the band, Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks, and Mick Fleetwood began to work on solo projects. Mick was the first to release a solo album. His was called The Visitor, and he went to South Africa to record there with many local musicians. But he also included his friends Peter Green and George Harrison on 2 tracks of the album. Lindsey Buckingham released an album called Law & Order, which garnered a minor hit with Trouble and was very popular on the radio at the time. Now, he also performed that on Saturday Night Live during the same year. And Stevie Nicks released Belladonna. And interestingly enough, all 3 of these albums were released in 1981. But of the 3, Stevie Nicks had the most success. Belladonna was a huge hit for her. It was one of the biggest albums in 1981. She created 4 hit singles with this album, just to name a few: Leather and Lace, which was sung with Don Henley of the Eagles, and Edge of 17. There's also another one called Stop Dragging My Heart Around, which she also sung with Tom Petty. And this would be the start of Stevie Nicks' highly successful solo career, and it would have an effect on the future of Fleetwood Mac. And, with the success that she had with Belladonna, and she went on the road to promote this album for much of 1981. And, from a fan's point of view or anybody's point of view, it could look like, maybe Fleetwood Mac's not going to be together anymore. Maybe they're going to break up because, you had three of the band members doing solo projects, and one of them was a major success. And so the rumors began to circulate that the band had broken up, and since, they're such a close, tight-knit group, it almost seemed like an unheard of thing, but everybody was talking about it. And so when the band found out about this, they decided to do something about it. And so at the end of 1981, Fleetwood Mac got back together and went into the studio to record the follow-up to Tusk, Mirage. Both Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks kind of returned in a somewhat reluctant way. They both preferred the solo careers they had because they felt it was a bit more freedom. If it was free of drama, it was they could kind of just do what they wanted and not have to worry about fighting with somebody else or anything like that. After the mixed reception of Tusk, the band decided to not continue on with the sound they had created with Tusk, and so they decided to kind of revert back to a similar sound that they had created with Rumors. And they thought, if we go back to this sound maybe that'll help us out. Maybe we can get some more hits again and get things started back up for us. The final product of Mirage had a bit more of a soft rock, adult contemporary sound that was common around the early 1980s. And for the first time, the band, this lineup anyway, did not record in the United States. They ended up going to France and recording there at some place that is in French, and I can't pronounce it. It was called Chateau something, but I can't pronounce it. I actually wish I could. And actually, being in France did actually make its way into some of the sounds on the album. There's a Lindsey Buckingham track called Can't Go Back, and it has a bit of a French sound to it. That's just my take on that. Mirage was released to better reviews, and it actually did create 2 hit singles. Hold Me and Gypsy were the biggest hits of the time. And we're going to play you both of those songs to kind of give you a sample of where we are for the band at this point in time in the early 1980s. So here is Gypsy, and then we'll play you Christine McVie's Hold Me.
Before we get on playing this, do these songs have a French flair?
A little bit. Hold Me actually has a little bit of a Oriental flair. So, well, we'll have to let you listeners out there decide to see what you think.
Starting to sound a lot like we are back to the Rumors era of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, Sean. If you listen to those tracks, the sound has gone back to sort of what they were doing on Rumors. Not exactly the same. There is a bit of a modern 1980s sound in there a little bit, but it's definitely not Tusk, and it's more radio friendly than Tusk was.
Yeah, definitely back to their roots, kind of playing it for the music, playing it for lyrical content instead of trying to, experiment, and maybe we don't know. I don't know if the drug use was as rampant right now as it was in years past, but it seems like we're back to just writing music and playing good music for Fleetwood.
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed those 2 tracks we played for you. Gypsy was actually a song that Stevie Nicks wrote for Belladonna, and it was supposed to have been released on that album, but at the last minute she decided to save it for Fleetwood Mac. And good for them that she did, because it was really popular, one of their most popular songs that they've done. The song has become a fan favorite, and Lindsey Buckingham has actually stated that it was his favorite song that he arranged, and one of his best arrangements he's ever done for all of Stevie's songs that he's done. This one is his favorite, and he feels that it's his best work. And that's a lot for him to say, because after their breakup, he was reluctant at times to want to help her get her songs arranged, but this one was one of his favorites, as he says. If you listen to the lyrical content that we had, it kind of sounds like Stevie Nicks is longing for a simpler time prior to being in this bubble of Fleetwood Mac and being this really rich and powerful person. Because, it goes, so I'm back to the Velvet Underground, which is actually a store she used to go into when her and Lindsey were starting out as Buckingham Nicks and struggling through the music business. And, back to the room with some lace and paper flowers, back to the gypsy that I was. It sounds like she's kind of just longing for the days when life was simpler, when they were happier, where there wasn't all this pressure to be, and all this demand on all of them to be to live up to this status that the band had come to know. And it's a really nice little song. I like it a lot. It's one of Stevie's best, I think. Hold Me, it was a song by Christine McVie, and In case you didn't know this, it was actually written about the Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson. Christy McVie had a romantic relationship with him. After her relationship with Curry Grant, which was the band's lighting director, who was also the subject of You Make Loving Fun, after that relationship ended with him, she met Dennis Wilson in 1978 while Fleetwood Mac was recording the Tusk album. In fact, while the band was recording Tusk, both Brian Wilson and Dennis Wilson stopped by the studio, and which was a great thing for Lindsey because he's a big fan of Brian Wilson. And they started to date in 1979, but Christine's relationship with Dennis Wilson was never the best. He was a wild person, and he was he was into a lot of drugs and alcohol, and she had a hard time holding him, and I guess you could say holding him, but she couldn't, their relationship was tumultuous. It was good, it was bad, but she loved him, and the song, it really just kind of discusses her really, tumultuous relationship with him, because it's kind of what are you doing kind of thing. And, can't you understand me, baby, don't you hand me a line? I don't want no damage, but how am I going to manage you? And then the chorus line just says, just hold me. And
sounds like she's reaching out to give any sort of help that she can, to maybe try to help with the drug abuse if that was an issue, and maybe just try to build back up a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, basically she's just telling him, why don't you just love me? I mean, come on. Because I think maybe he might have been playing games with her. Who really knows? But yeah, it's just a song of her frustration being with him. The Oriental sound we had mentioned prior to playing these songs, that one has the most sound to it. And Lindsey's doing some really interesting stuff on the guitar. I'm not sure what he's doing, but might be harmonics. But anyway, it's a nice riffing song. It really is. Yeah,
definitely playing on the whole tone scale and the pentatonic scale that we hear a lot in music of the Orient, where they're, if you're looking at a piano, it's typically the 5 black keys in a scale, or just going from white key to white key with missing the black keys. So very, very unique sound to that type of scale, and again, it's attributed more to music of the Orient and Asian music. However, it adds a nice flair to music that is popular here in the States.
Exactly. Now, Lindsey Buckingham, while Stevie Nicks and Christy McVie had some good songs on this album, Lindsey his material on this album was not the best. Although there are a couple standouts. Eyes of the World is a really good song. I also happen to like Can't Go Back. There's one song on the album that Lindsey absolutely hates, and it's called Oh Diane, which actually sounds like a really 1950s love song. He hates that song. He refuses to play it. That song was actually popular in the UK only, and there's actually a really weird music video to it where they're all faking playing instruments to it. It's really silly. But I can see why he doesn't like it. But all in all, Mirage is a pretty good album. When I first heard Mirage, it kind of grew on me like Tusk did. But the more I've listened to Mirage, the more I like it. Although the band had success with Hold Me and Gypsy, Mirage was not on the charts for that long. It did go double platinum though when it came out, but it actually fell off the charts not long after it was released. It was starting to climb up. It looked like it might reach in the top 10 and then look really well, but then it just fell off. And the tour the band went on to support it didn't help the prospects, because actually this tour only lasted about 3 months. It was they did a short 3-month tour, and it was over after that. The band did record a live videotape of one of their shows in Los Angeles, which is floating around on YouTube. You can check it out, and it's a pretty interesting little show. However, the video clips I've seen of the Rumors era is a little bit better, but that's just a personal opinion. But and so the tour was over in 3 months, and everyone went back to their solo careers, and Fleetwood Mac was once again put back on the shelf. And both Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks went back to their careers and solo careers and all. And but for the next 5 years, everybody in the band would start to go through a lot of personal problems. Stevie Nicks, while still having her solo career, very successful, she had a really horrible addiction to cocaine. And this had started back when the group was recording Rumors back in 1976, and that was when cocaine was really first introduced to the group. And it really turned into a major dependency on her part, and I guess that she went to a doctor at one point in the 1980s, I think around 1985 or something like that, and he had showed her a X-ray they took, and she had a huge hole in her nasal passages after she had snorted that much cocaine, and he told her, basically, if you keep this up or even do one small thing, you could die. And that was enough for her to say, okay, I need help. And so she went to the Betty Ford Clinic in 1985, and she stayed there for most of the year. She got clean in 1986. But Christy McVie, on the other hand, Dennis Wilson had passed away in 1983 when he drowned after he dived off of one of his boats. And she was devastated over his death. They had broken up prior to that. I think they broke up around the time Mirage was released or during the year following in 83, same year he died. She was devastated over that, and it really hurt her badly. Mick Fleetwood actually went bankrupt due to his own dependency on cocaine. And he had to get clean, and he actually had to try to find a way to get his bank account built back up because he was basically blew all his money on drugs. John McVie had a lot of run-ins with the authorities over his alcoholism. And Lindsey Buckingham went through a painful breakup with his longtime girlfriend, Carol Ann Harris, who he had started dating not long after the band finished Rumors. While they were having all this troubles, there were some highlights of their solo careers. Stevie Nicks had a couple good more albums coming out. Christy McVie released a solo album and did get a hit off that album. Lindsey Buckingham didn't really release any solo material between 1983 and in '84. He released his second solo album, Go Insane, which actually kind of chronicled his breakup with Carol Ann Harris on the title track, and that was his biggest hit at the time. And it's been quite a popular song. In fact, Go Insane has been done differently in subsequent live versions. If you listen to the original version, it has like a lot of electronic sounds. He stripped that song down to a slower, more acoustic version that he does in all his solo and Fleetwood Mac shows. And he also started writing songs for movies. He actually wrote a song for the first Back to the Future called Time Bomb Town. And you only hear it in one scene where Marty is sleeping on his bed and Doc Brown calls him, and that's the song that's playing on the radio. You can't tell it's Lindsey Buckingham unless you really listen very closely, but that song was released on that movie soundtrack. Just a little side note there for fact and all that. But once again, through this 5-year period between 84 and 1987, there was rumors going around that the band had broken up once again. And everyone thought, okay, well, Fleetwood Mac must be done. But Lindsey Buckingham had said that there was no way he was going to let Mirage be their last group effort. He felt they could do better than Mirage. And so in early 1986, the band got back together one more time to record their next album called Tango In the Night. And Lindsey, although felt that he could do better than Mirage, he was still reluctant to return because he had felt that being with Fleetwood Mac stifled his creative abilities. It kind of felt it kept him down in terms of, again, with the problems that went around since the breakups and the Rumors sessions, and everybody was still affected by this. It would take a very long time to get all this hurt and anger towards each other out. And but nevertheless, of how he felt, he still took the reins of the album, and he turned Tango in the Night into one of their greatest successes of the 1980s. It had started out as basically one of his solo projects, but it quickly turned into a group effort, and Tango in the Night had a fresh sound that the band had not had since they recorded Rumors in 1977. Although Mirage was a bit of a return to the sound, Tango in the Night was very different. And we're going to play you a couple tracks from Tango in the Night to kind of give you a sample of what's going on. We're going to play you the first track off the album that Lindsey wrote called Big Love. And this is one of their most popular songs that's still done live today. And then we'll play you one of Stevie's songs, Seven Wonders, and Christy McVie's Everywhere.
Looking out for love in the night so still. Oh, how build you a kingdom in that house on the hill. Looking out for
We hope you enjoyed our little musical interlude and maybe a flashback in time to the days of windbreaker suits and flashy, fun music videos that was the 80s. And both of these songs, Big Love and Everywhere, had a very, very heavy 80s feel to them, whereas Seven Wonders was very, very synth-driven, not as much guitar as we've seen in years past. And, well, Jeff, welcome to the 80s.
I know, right? Big Love is definitely the song I think was played in most dance clubs in the 80s. I mean, it has a dance beat to it. And in fact, I believe they released a lot of tracks from this album in multiple platforms. There was a dance mix of Big Love out there somewhere. I've never listened to, so I don't like to dance, but there is a dance mix of it out there somewhere. So this was definitely the song that you'd hear at clubs.
Well, you may say you don't like to dance, Jeff, but I think I saw you tapping your toes and wiggling your fingers as you were listening to all three of those songs.
I can't help it. They're good songs. I mean, they're great. I can't help it. I mean, I don't dance, but being a musician, my foot's got to tap. Something's got to happen there. But all three songs, if you could tell, this definitely is not like Mirage, nothing like Tusk or Rumors. This is definitely the 80s sounds you're hearing on this album. This is the most 80s Fleetwood Mac ever got. Big Love has a basic, everything's basic, basic snare and kick, light on the guitar. There's synthesizers and keyboards going on in the majority of these songs. The synth fills are nice and everywhere. I like how they fill the melody out. I like that. Seven Wonders get the same thing going on. Lyrical content, Seven Wonders and Everywhere are, I guess you could say Seven Wonders is more of kind of like searching for the seven wonders of the universe or something like that. Stevie Nicks actually was not the writer of this one. She only contributed, I think, one line, but I forget who wrote that song originally, but she still made it her own, absolutely. Everywhere with Christy McVie was written with, she wrote all her songs on Tango In the Night, which included this one and Little Lies, were both hits from this album as well. And they were written with her new husband, Eddie Quintella, who she married in 1986, when I think just before the band got into the studio to do this. And the music video for Everywhere was actually based on the old Highwayman poem by Alfred Noyes. The old poem. The music video actually looks like it's from like the Renaissance period. It's a pretty interesting little music video. Even the music videos for this album are pretty interesting. Big Love is a little strange for the music video-wise. But either way, Big Love is probably the most dark song that we've played here. Lindsey was going through a really rough time. He had hit an emotional low point. He was not happy at all in life. And if you listen to the lyrics of Big Love, looking out for love, in the night so still, oh, you begged me to keep you in that house on the hill. I'm looking out for love, Big Love. Now, someone could say, well, okay, he's looking out to get a relationship with someone. Well, Lindsey has said he is not. He's actually defending against love. He's looking out for love like, look, okay, if I see it, I'm going the other way. He wants nothing to do with love at this point. This is a good version. The dance version is nice. The live version that he does these days absolutely knocks this one out of the park. I mean, it's just solo acoustic with him and acoustic guitar, and man, this song can distribute his guitar skills in the live version. If you haven't heard it, you got to check it out. If you're a Fleetwood Mac fan, you already know what I'm talking about. But really, when Tango In the Night was released, it created 4 top 10 singles, which is the most they've done since Rumors. There was Big Love, Little Lies, Seven Wonders, and Everywhere were the biggest singles and released on the top 10 from this album. And the band did not expect this album to go into a good place at all. They thought it was not going to do very well, and it surprised all of them when it was a major hit. And it was a very much unexpected success, and so the band decided, okay, well, we got a hit album, let's hit the road. Lindsey had said, I'm not going on the road. I don't want to go. And Mick Fleetwood pulled him aside, and they went to his house and kind of discussed it. And after talking about it, Lindsey agreed, okay, fine, I'll go on the road. So this big tour was booked. Everything was set up, ready to go. All the promoters were ready to go. All the dates were set. And at the last second, Lindsey goes, you know what? I'm not going. I don't want to go. I'm not going on the road with you guys. And everyone's like, well, you have to. We just booked a tour. And this is in a rough spot, so they all held a meeting in Christine McVie's house. And everybody just kind of sat around a table and tried to convince him to go because it was way too late for him to back out now. And the whole meeting didn't go well. He refused to change his mind. He didn't want to go. And Lindsey's reasons for not going was the fact that he had said that there was always this big tension between the group and the studio. And when this tension was bad in the studio, it was like times 10 of that on the road. He was sick of all this this walking soap opera, as he once called it, that Fleetwood Mac had become. He was sick of all this drama, all this angst between him and Stevie and and everybody else. It was a toxic atmosphere to him, and he wanted out. He didn't want nothing to do with it, period. And all this talking with him to get him to go on the road did not change his mind. And basically, Stevie was so furious with him over this, she lunged off at him and tried to attack him. He got up and walked out of the house. She chased him out of the house, and then started hitting on him and stuff. And like they got into a big physical altercation. Started right after this, and there has been some claims by Mick Fleetwood and even Stevie that Lindsey tried to choke her. I don't know what happened there. I mean, I never really read the full story, but they claim he did that. He claimed he didn't. But
sounds like a lot of he said, she said.
Yeah, and so it got really bad. Like she chased him out of the house, down the street. He came back. She chased him back. This is the biggest blow up they've had since the Rumors sessions. I mean, like these two hated each other. And anyway, so when it got really physical, Mick goes, "You know what, Lindsey? Why don't you just leave? Go." And what he meant was just go home, cool off for a while, just leave the place. Well, Lindsey took it literally, and he says, "I quit."
Well, that's one way to have to start from scratch one way again.
Yep, and once again, and this Rumors lineup was the longest one that lasted. The other lineups only lasted a couple of years. This one lasted 10 years. And, and they had their leader, Lindsey Buckingham say, "I'm out, I'm gone." And the band had this big tour booked, and they couldn't cancel, so they had to quickly find somebody to replace him.
And, well, Jeff, we will get into that on our next podcast. We will definitely discuss the band's lean years after Lindsey Buckingham's departure, the not-so-successful new lineup, and the return of Fleetwood Mac, sparked by a presidential request. We'll see you next time on the conclusion to The Chain, the evolution of Fleetwood Mac.